The boardroom went silent the moment she was told to leave. Not because she argued, not because she resisted, but because she simply stood up, collected her folder, and walked out without a single word. Behind her, a billionaire executive smirked. "People like her don't decide global deals," he said. And within 24 hours, that same company would lose the largest contract in its history, worth over $1 billion. And no one would understand why, until it was already too late. Her name was Elena Marlowe. To everyone inside the company, she was just a strategist. Quiet, invisible, always seated at the far end of meetings. Never interrupting, never demanding attention. She didn't wear expensive suits like the executives. She didn't attend after-work dinners in luxury hotels. She didn't try to impress anyone. But Elena had one gift no one understood. She didn't just analyze deals, she constructed them from the shadows. For 5 years, every major international contract the company signed, every expansion into Europe, Asia, and the Middle East, had one silent architect behind it. Elena. But no one ever said her name in the press releases. No one ever invited her to the celebration dinners. She didn't mind, because she believed results speak louder than recognition. But that belief was about to be tested in the harshest way imaginable. The boardroom belonged to men who believed power was visible. Men in expensive suits. Men who inherited positions instead of earning them. At the center was Richard Halston, the chief executive officer. Charismatic, wealthy, ruthlessly arrogant. He believed intuition mattered more than analysis. And he hated people who worked in silence. Especially Elena. The meeting began like all others. Glass walls, city skyline, espresso cups untouched. Elena presented the final structure of a massive international logistics deal, one that had been negotiated for nearly a year. Numbers aligned perfectly, risk minimized, global expansion guaranteed. But before she finished, Richard leaned back in his chair and smiled. "Honestly," he said, "why are we still letting support staff speak in board meetings?" A few executives chuckled. Elena paused, but didn't react. Another board member added, "We already have real negotiators handling this. We don't need analysts pretending to be strategists." The room laughed louder. Richard tapped the table lightly. "Elena, thank you. You can send your notes to my assistant." Silence. That was not a suggestion. It was dismissal. Every eye in the room expected her reaction. Anger, argument, maybe even desperation. But Elena simply closed her folder, nodded once, and stood up. No words, no protest, just calm acceptance. And that calmness unsettled Richard more than any argument ever could. But he ignored it, because in his mind, she was irrelevant. And with that assumption, he signed her removal from the negotiation team. What no one in that room knew was that Elena was not just part of the negotiation team. She was the core node behind every single international contract routing system. Every deal passed through 3 hidden layers before approval: risk validation, international compliance alignment, and final signature synchronization across global partners. Elena had designed those systems years ago, when she was still believed to be just an intern with potential. But she never told anyone the full scope of what she built, because she knew exactly what kind of people she worked for. People who only respect control when they lose it. And she had built something far more powerful than contracts. She had built dependency. That night, the company celebrated. Champagne in the executive lounge. Laughter echoing through glass corridors. Richard toasted loudly. "Finally, we can operate without unnecessary bottlenecks." He even joked about cleaning up inefficiency. Elena's name was never mentioned again. But across the world, something strange began to happen. In Frankfurt, a partner bank flagged inconsistencies in the contract structure. In Dubai, a logistics hub failed verification protocols. In Singapore, a digital compliance system froze mid-validation. At first, it looked like minor technical issues. But within hours, the entire deal chain started collapsing. Silently, systematically, like a structure being erased piece by piece. And no one understood why. The next morning, Richard walked into chaos. Analysts crowded the war room. Monitors flashing red. Emails pouring in from international partners demanding clarification. One senior executive whispered, "We've lost synchronization with the global contract framework." Richard frowned. "That's impossible. Fix it." But the response came fast. We can't. The system is locked. Locked, Richard snapped. By who? Silence filled the room. Then a junior technician spoke hesitantly. It's like the architecture itself revoked access permissions from the inside. Richard laughed in disbelief. That's ridiculous. Who built the system? The technician hesitated. Elena Marlowe. The room went quiet. For the first time, Richard didn't speak immediately. Because now, something didn't feel like a technical issue anymore. It felt personal. Richard immediately ordered Elena's file. What he found made his expression change. Her signature appeared in every foundational layer of the system. Every contract protocol. Every compliance gateway. Every approval engine. She hadn't just contributed. She had designed the entire infrastructure that processed global deals. And worse, she still had dormant administrative authority embedded in the system architecture. Authority no one had ever removed. Because no one ever thought she mattered enough to be a threat. Richard stood up slowly. For the first time in years, he felt uncertainty. By midday, the billion-dollar contract was officially suspended. Partners withdrew. Legal teams froze communication. International regulators flagged structural inconsistencies. The company's reputation began to fracture in real time. Every attempt to override the system failed. Because every override route led back to Elena's original framework. Richard slammed his desk. Find her. And for the first time, no one in the room smiled. Elena was not hiding. She was at home, quiet, drinking tea, watching the news report the company's collapse with calm detachment. Her phone rang. Once. Twice. She didn't answer. Then came a message. Please come back. We need to fix this. From Richard, the same man who dismissed her without hesitation. She stared at the screen for a long moment, then finally replied, You already decided I wasn't needed. And she put the phone down. That afternoon, an emergency board meeting was called. Investors joined remotely. Legal teams on standby. The company's stock was falling by the minute. Richard stood in front of the boardroom camera feed. For the first time, he didn't look confident. He looked desperate. We need Elena Marlowe reinstated immediately, he said. A pause. Then another executive asked, On what terms? Richard hesitated, and that hesitation said everything. But before he could respond, a notification appeared on every screen. Global Contract Framework terminated by Administrator Elena Marlowe. Silence. Then chaos. Investors reacting. Executives shouting. Screens freezing. And then, a final message appeared. I was never part of your company. I was the system holding it together. Within hours, the billion-dollar deal was officially lost. Partners withdrew permanently. Competitors absorbed the opportunity. The company's valuation dropped faster than anyone could respond. Richard sat alone in the boardroom as the lights dimmed automatically. No speeches. No final confrontation. Just silence. Weeks later, Elena walked past the same building. Now quiet. Rebranded. Rebuilt under new leadership. A young analyst recognized her. Are you Elena Marlowe? She nodded slightly. Do you miss it? He asked. She paused, looked at the glass tower, then replied softly. I was never seen there, so I never left anything behind. And she walked away. Into the city. Into silence. Into a world that finally no longer underestimated her. Power was never taken from her. It was simply revealed when she stopped holding everything together.